Hi there. In this video, I'm going to go over with you how to create a budget in the Google spreadsheet. Now, this is going to be fairly basic, just to get you started. Okay, so first things first is how do we get a Google Sheet? You can go to Google Drive and go to File, New, and then you can do a new Google Sheet. A couple things you can do here as well. Let's say you're just in Google. I can click on this 3x3 matrix here, the Google Apps, and I can find Sheets and click on that. Or a quick way of doing a new sheet is going Sheets.new. Okay, so here we are. We have a standard spreadsheet, Google Sheets, and I'm just going to title this My Budget. I'm actually going to take it one step further in my balanced budget, because the whole idea is we want to make sure we're not exceeding our income. So whatever money we're bringing in, we want to make sure that anything that we're spending our money on is not going to exceed or be more than what money we're bringing in. That's the whole idea. Okay, for a spreadsheet, for those of you who've never seen a spreadsheet before, have never really played with one, just a quick overview. Going across here on the right-hand side, you have columns, and they are labeled by letters. Down the side on your left-hand side here, these are the rows, and they are labeled with numbers. Within this spreadsheet, all of these are called cells. So for example, this is cell A1. And you can see here in the top left-hand corner, it actually labels it. So if I wanted to go, let's say, to this one, so column C, row 3, click on it, you will see that the name is right here for C3, and I can keep modeling that. Here is D7 and A10 and so on. So these are the cells within the spreadsheet. We are going to be working with these cells so that we can create that budget. Now, in a budget, there are three main aspects to it. There's your income, your savings, and your expenses. You'll want to think about what are your long-term and short-term goals. And then when you're setting up your budget, you can then determine how much you have left for your savings, how much will you need towards your goals, short-term and so on, and you can at least be in control and be within reason. Okay. Okay, so now in cell A3, I'm going to call this income. And you can do things that are very typical in, let's say, even like a Google Doc. I can make this bigger, okay, bolder. I just totally went in opposite there. I did first bold and then bigger. And then what I could do is decide, well, what kind of income are you getting? And I'm thinking monthly. So I'm actually going to specify here, monthly income. So you'll notice when I'm typing the monthly income here, you see it not only here, but you also see it here. So this is another spot that I can edit any of my cells, and it will populate down here. So monthly income, and take a look though, like you can see that my column A, it's not wide enough for this, and this may not seem like it's going to impact me now, but I do like to plan ahead. So in Google Sheets, all you have to do is double click right here. See when it turns to a black arrow, double click. It's now automatically expanded to include all my text here. So you may be having income from your parents. Maybe they give you a certain allowance, let's say from a job. So whether it's a steady job or if it's just a job that you pick up here and there, and anywhere else. So you could be thinking about those kind of things, and you can list as many things as you want. But I think these are your two typical pieces here. And then what I'm going to do is go to expenses. So I'm actually going to copy this so that I can get all the formatting. So I'm going to right click copy, or Control C or Command C, and then Control V or Command V to paste, or right click paste. And now I'm going to type in here, and I'm actually going to show you how I can change this up here. This is going to be our monthly, and let's say expenses. So what are those monthly expenses going to be? So that really does vary by individual. One of them may be, let's say you're paying for your cell phone. Let's say you have a subscription of some kind to your latest game console. Maybe you have an Xbox or something, and you're paying a regular fee. So let's say, I can just say Xbox, and anything else that you may have that comes up. All right, so let's start filling in some values here. So let's say your parents, let's say they gave you monthly, maybe $20. Okay, not saying your parents have to, but just maybe you have that. Job. Let's say this could vary. If it varies, then maybe we can think of a different way of doing this. But for now, let's say monthly you make a roughly, and this could be an approximation. Let's say $300. Cell phone monthly, let's say it's about $120. And let's say your Xbox fee is $20. Okay, and I said dollars. I'm saying that, but you can see that this doesn't come up as dollars. But there's a quick way of doing this in here where I can just click on, oops. I'm going to grab these cells, and actually I'm going to go down even further in case I do add more items here. And I'm going to click on my handy dandy dollar sign right here. And now we have in dollars. Same idea here. I can go further down for any future values I put in here. And there we go. Okay, so now let's say we're going to look at our savings. What are your short-term or maybe long-term goals here? This is where I can list them. So I'm going to again copy. Okay, so I'm going to copy this guy, paste. And this time I'm going to do goals or savings, let's say. Savings towards those goals. And what are they? So maybe you have a goal to buy. Oh, and you can see I just kind of go a little longer. I'm just going to use that little trick here. Maybe again, so let's say since I mentioned Xbox here, maybe it's an older Xbox. Maybe I want that Xbox X or S that's out there right now. I could do that. And let's say I'm also trying to save for college. So you can decide how much do you want to save, how much is going to go towards the Xbox, and this is where you have to think down the road, how long am I willing to wait, or how much am I willing to put away, and this really also maybe determines on your monthly income and expenses as well. So let's say for now, we'll just make up a value where we're going to save for now $30 per month, and let's say for college, let's say we're going to try to save, let's say $60 per month. This is our goals, and then we'll have to see when we actually do our budget if that's actually feasible. I'm going to use that trick where I'm going to click and drag, and now I'm going to select the dollar button here, and there we go. So if we're going to look at January for the beginning of the year, so let's say January, and again, I'm going to make this, let's say bold, bigger. And this is where we can list things. So what do we know? So what are our income? Expenses, and it's putting little spaces in, and you can decide whether you want that or not. Savings, and then I have you total left, something like this. It's like just basically in my mind is what is left after all of this. So this is where I'm going to use some tricks with using spreadsheets, where with our income, I'm going to put actually an equal sign here, and I can do a couple things here. I can click on this cell and then type the plus sign, and then click on this cell, and I can continue. If I had more values down here, keep adding, I can do that. There's also a feature in here, and I'll just show you what this looks like, because you can see it gives you 320 right here, and if I hit enter, you get 320. But what I'm also can show you is that Another way of doing this is doing sum meaning the answer to an addition question, bracket, the beginning of a bracket, and then I can again do what we were doing before, and I can just select all the cells I want to be added. And again, I can continue down further here if I'd like with how many values you have. Let's do the same thing for expenses. So equal sign gives me that formula, so now it's ready to go. And you'll see the equal signs right here as well. I'm going to use the sum feature, because it's good practice. Bracket, and now I'm going to select these cells. I could even grab these cells here because they're blank. It's not going to impact me. So if I do add values here, it's probably a good idea. It gives me that increased range. And since I mentioned that, I might as well do that for this one here. So that gives us a good opportunity to adjust this. Right now we're adding only B5 and B6. Let's say we want to go down as far as B8. All I have to do is change this B6 to B8. Hit enter. And now it'll be anything in value. So if I click on that, you'll see B5 to B8, which means these cells from this range from B5 to B8 will be added. Last one is savings. Same idea. Sum, bracket. We have B20. Let's go a little further down. Let's say to B25. Close that bracket, hit enter. And now you have your values. Total left. So what do you have left at the end of the month? Let's see. Use that equal sign again. Now you have to think about it. Well, income is the only money coming in. Expenses and savings are kind of like the money going out. So expenses are directly going to things, and savings, maybe you're transferring to a different account to save. So those are going to be now taken away from your income. So I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to first take my income, subtract, and I have a couple ways of doing this. I could just subtract this cell right here, subtract this cell here, and then we have our total value. Or I could just subtract. I could just do again this plus this. And since it's BEDMAS, where we have the operation of these two being added together, and I'm going to take E4 minus these two values that are being added, that works too. Whatever you would like to do in terms of, so whether you take your income and subtracting your expense and subtract your savings, or subtract the sum of those, either way it will work. And you're now left with $90. What's a really neat trick here is, so far we can see here that, hey, $90 is pretty good. That means we have $90 to maybe put towards other things, like maybe going to the movies or going out for dinner or whatever other plans you may have. But at least you are in complete control. You know how much you have left, or for even anything that's unexpected. But let's take it to one step further in spreadsheets, where we can do this thing called conditional formatting, where it's going to highlight if I'm in the red, which means I actually don't have money left over, and that's something I'm going to have to deal with. So to do that, So to do that, I'm clicking on the $90 here. So this is just the cell, and keep in mind this value could change as we go along, but it's really about this cell, and I want to do some conditional formatting. So I'm going to go to Format, Conditional Formatting. So now I have some things here on the right hand side. So it's giving me where you want to apply to. This is that cell, E10. Yep, that's correct. What do I want to do? If this cell is not empty, then I can do something. It's not what I really want to do. What I would like to do is say if the data is, let's say, greater than or equal to, let's say greater than or equal to 0. So that would be our middle ground. So that's where we have our balance. And then anything greater than that, we want to be in the positive. So I'm going to indicate that with the green. So I'm going to leave the default, click done. And sure enough, it's green because our $90 is perfect. Let's add another rule. This time, I want to do it where it's less than 0. We already have a situation where it's greater than or equal to 0, but anything less than 0, we're going to have it go in the red. Okay, and done. And of course, nothing has changed here because that's not the situation. But let's play with this. And this is where it's a great opportunity for you to see how things change in here. So let's say you have a new expense, a monthly expense. Let's say you have to pay for some groceries. There were some things that you want to buy. And because you're maybe not happy with the food that's at home, or for whatever reasons that you're just buy your own groceries. And now let's say this is costing you, let's for fun, I know it's not going to be probably for you $90 a month, but I'm going to do it just for demonstration purposes. Let's say it's $100 a month that you're going to put towards your groceries. Now you can see that this has gone into the red of -10. And actually, it actually made the number in -10, not the color back here. So I have to make a little change here. Let's go back on this and let's fix this. Because it just did the, that's where I made the mistake. I made this in red. I'm going to put that back to black. And I want the filling here, the paint can, to be red. Let's do that. There we go. A little more obvious. And there we go. We are in the red. So of course I can change this. Go, wow, I can't spend $100. This is where you can now manage your expectations. Maybe I'm only going to spend $50. And now you're left with $40 per month. What's really nice with spreadsheets here is you can actually copy this. So again, right click, copy, Control C or Command C, and then paste. And now you can change this to, let's say, February, and you can see that it carries over. Okay, we'll take a look. It's like, well, our income is 280 because it did E5 and E8. Well, that's not what we want. We want to be able to add B5 and B8. So we'll have to adjust that. And what you can do, you're like, well, what's the point if I copy it over and it changes my cells, not the letters? There's a way of controlling this. I'm going to show you this trick. We're always going to refer to B12 to B16 for, let's say, for our sum of monthly expenses. And you see how it adjusted in this one for E. You don't want that. So we're going to put a B here. But this time I'm going to put a $sign in front. And I'm going to put a $sign in front of the 12 as well. And by putting a $sign, it basically locks it. So it's always going to be those particular cells. And the great thing that way is when I copy and paste it over for months for going forward for the following year, I'm not going to have to worry about keep changing this over. So I'm going to do the same thing here. So E, I want it to be B, put a $sign in front. And I have to put a $sign in front of both the B and the number because that means it locks that particular cell. So we're talking about column B and then row 20. Where's that cell? But if I didn't have the $sign, say for the 20, that would still change potentially that number to be a different number. Let's do this again. And we're going to do $sign B. And you can see it being highlighted down below while I'm doing this, $sign 25. Oops. And enter. Excellent. All right, let's test this theory. So I'm going to copy this now, paste it, and now I'm going to do March. And you can see that it should have worked. Oh, you know why? Because we didn't actually do it for our income, or if you recall, we did it for expenses and savings. So this one really should have been $sign and $sign. $sign. Hit enter. And just to save some time, I'm actually just going to copy that guy, paste it here, and it'll carry over that formula. What I really love about this is now that you can add or subtract things here. So you can add more monthly expenses you may have, or if you got a new job and you're making more money, you can adjust it here. It automatically changes here in all of our months. So let's test that real quick. Let's say you got a new job and you're making $500 a month now. Just put 500 in. And now you can see automatically it has adjusted your spreadsheet. So play around with that. You'll get a little more comfortable as you're going along. You're going to come up with your way of how you would like to create your budget. But of course, keeping in mind, we want to keep it a balanced budget so that you're keeping things in control and you're not spending more than what you're bringing in.